I don't think talent exists. That really rubs a lot of people the wrong way when I say that. With any skill that takes multiple things, right? Now, like, maybe with running a 100-yard dash or like being 7 feet tall, like those, I wouldn't say those are necessarily skills. I don't really care about what anyone thinks, and especially when I was trying to be a great wrestler. Like, I think those people who are close to me and they're in the same worlds with me would say, like, I love Ben. He's really nice and generous and kind and all those things. And then people who are kind of outside my world might think, like, what the F's wrong with that guy? He's kind of a dick, Being a little aggressive is no big deal, right? Like, don't be a dick, but if you want to get rough once in a while, it's kind of funny. And so, like, aggressiveness is worked out of kids. If that can be worked out, why can't other things be worked in? Because why can't, right? Toughness is probably the easiest one to point to, that we know that can get better with people.
Today I'm sitting with retired MMA and amateur wrestler Ben Askren. Ben recently fought Jake Paul in a highly publicized boxing match. Previous to that, Ben was the former Bellator and one welterweight champion. He also competed in the 2008 Olympics, finished his college career with a 153-8 record, and he won the Big 12 2 times, the championship, 2 national championships in college. He had a career of 91 pins, third most in NCAA history at the time, and he's a 2-time high school state champion. Ben, welcome to the show.
What's up? Thank you for having me.
So Ben, as you know, I bring people on the show that I consider to be docents. These are people that inspire, influence, and guide others through their actions. You are definitely one of those people. You are a docent. So I'd like to just learn who your docents were growing up. So let's dive in.
Cool.
Before we get started, Ben, I got to ask you, who are your top 3 rappers of all time?
Oh my gosh. Didn't you ask me this question on Clubhouse? Hey, let me ask you a question. Did Clubhouse go away? Like, I think that was the fastest thing. Everyone's like, oh my God, this is so amazing. It's going to be the next big
not as
thing.
hot,
And
right?
now it's like, a month later, it's like, where did it go? Nobody's talking about it. I only used it twice, both times with you. I'll say I actually found it kind of difficult because a lot of times I would feel rude because, like, I feel like, there's no real specific order of who should be speaking, especially when you have, say, a dozen speakers. Sure. It's kind of hard to know, like, who goes next, because it's not like you can look at each other, right? It's a phone. It's can be awkward. So I didn't actually love it, and it's kind of crazy how fast it went away. Top rappers, though. So you said that really fast in the thing, and I just kind of think off the top of my head. So Tupac and Biggie were the first 2 that came up. Because you know what, I don't know if this was everybody, but now as I get older, I kind of feel like it is. The music you listen to, like middle school, high school, college, is kind of
that's it for the rest of your life, right?
It's gonna be your favorite music. I like some other stuff. So I've been listening to a lot of Post Malone. So I threw him in there, and I kind of got roasted for that. It's some other ones at that time. DMX, rest in peace. Outkast. I thought about Outkast. I loved Outkast, and Nelly. Those are some of the other ones that I really, really enjoyed at that time.
I had a guy on yesterday. I went to high school with him. He played CFL for 15 years. He was Canadian football, and his number 1, I think, was Outkast, actually.
Real Outkast is great, man. And then, you know what? I was in Atlanta for that fight, and I'm like, hey, where the hell is Andre 3000? Like, you know what? But it's kind of cool. I felt as though that he kind of just went off the grid.
Yeah. Like I'm done.
I feel like fame is a drug for some people, and it in a really negative sense, meaning like they have to keep themselves in the news, to make them feel good about themselves or feel relevant, or I don't know exactly what the emotions, their experiences are. But so I think it's kind of cool when you can see some of these guys who, like, he kind of just disappeared. He's probably living his life.
And he's making money either way. He's got royalties, right? So it's not about, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
he doesn't need to be in the spotlight, right? We got to talk about the Jake Paul fight. Obviously, it's top of mind. I lost $10,000 on your fight, so I'm definitely asking about it.
Sorry to hear that.
It's all good. But before we dive in, why don't let's just I was watching a Joe Rogan thing the other day, and then now I can't find the video. I go on and it's like they deleted the video. I don't know if you hit the guy up and was like, you take this shit down. But I'm just kidding. George St. Pierre, is that how you say it? I guess he was on Joe Rogan's show. I was listening to him like a week ago, and he was saying that Freddie Roach was surprised that you didn't work out with him more or something like that. Did you hear that clip?
Yeah, I mean, this was.
How often did you work with him? Was it only like 1 week or something like that? Or?
Well, I went with him once.
Okay.
Once.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, guys, it was kind of I listen. I've been open and honest the entire time about what I was going to put into it, and and how much I cared about it. And I think a lot of people I don't think they took me at face value because maybe they hadn't seen. Listen, I say what I think, and then I generally follow up what I say with what I do. And when I took a box, it's like I don't want to be a world-class boxer.
No.
And I have no desire. I want to be retired.
No, that's what you kept saying on Clubhouse. I should have just listened.
Yeah. I kept saying that. And listen, so
they pulled you out of retirement for that, right?
They pulled me out of retirement. They gave me a lot of money. They incentivized me that way. And I am going to train. And I did train. People say I didn't train. I trained hard for 11 weeks. But at the same time, I have businesses I'm running.
Right.
So it's
you
not
weren't
like
fully focused on it. Right.
You're gone businesses, right? I'm not doing anything. Now, did I take some time away from my businesses? Yeah, I did, right? Did I go to LA for a week to train with Freddie? Yeah, I did. Did I go to Vegas? Yes. Did I was running usually for 3 nights a week and a weekend, and I took an extra day off, so I wasn't there quite as much. So, and I didn't coach at a couple tournaments because I didn't want to travel. So there were some things I did, but it's like, was I going to move to LA for 6 weeks?
And just do that.
And, I got 3 kids, no, I can't do that. Let's
be fair, right? To be fair, you were in retirement, to your point. You had a hip surgery over the last couple of years, right? I mean, it wasn't why did he pick you, right? When you think about it from that perspective, he was just trying to find someone that he thinks he can win against because you were in retirement.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's just ridiculous,
Of course.
I mean, you'll take the money, of course, but it's what was that,
Yeah, but if I wanted to be a good boxer, my week with Freddie was great. He was awesome.
Yeah, that's cool.
And if I wanted to be a really high level boxer, so let's go back to my wrestler. I did want to be a high level wrestler, right? And so I went to the University of Missouri. I found the best training opportunities. I wanted to be a high level mixed martial artist, so I found a great training opportunity at Rufus. And I moved there. I lived there, and that's what I did because that was my livelihood, and that was what I wanted to be. And so I did, right? And so, had I wanted to be a great boxer, I actually got to find it interesting in boxing. It doesn't seem to be that there's as many teams as in MMA. You can really highlight these teams, these camps, and all the really high level people that they have in there. In boxing, Freddie had coached a lot of people, but it doesn't seem, besides him, kind of as team oriented, right? There's a couple, maybe one superstar, and then maybe a couple up and comers. But you can put some of these MMA teams, and you're like, well, there's multiple high level champions on that one team.
One question I had for you, I'm just gonna read through here. It's it says you trained 11, 12 weeks. Did you do a lot of cardio in that training, or would you just, because when you weighed in, I was surprised that you were so out of shape relative to what I've seen you in your previous.
I wasn't out of shape. I looked out of shape.
Why did it look like that? That photo was a bad photo or something. Because when you got to the ring, you didn't look like you were in that photo,
Yeah. So my wife thinks the photo was bad also. Yeah. But in all fairness, I was 220. I was roughly 220 when they asked me to fight. Wow. I mean, I hadn't been able to train at all because of my work, because of my hip. But and then also, no one ever thought I had a great physique, and I fought at 170.
You had abs in some of your wrestling matches, and I looked at the old footage. I mean,
no one thought it, but then add 22 pounds to that. I had to weigh at 192. Why anyone thought I was going to look like shredded is, I'm sorry, I'm going to offend you right now. If you thought I was going to look good, you had to be an idiot. I weighed in at 192, to the notion that I was going to look good.
You got good shape,
most
relatively
people made fun
speaking.
of my physique. Right. When I weighed in at 170, they made fun of my physique. Now you're going to add 22 pounds to that, and you're going to think, oh, this guy's going to look shredded? Nah, that ain't going to be the case. So, cardio wise, I was in great shape. I felt like I could box forever, actually.
He just got you, right? It's one of that one punch.
I was just surprised. Yeah, it happens. But I was surprised how, MMA striking wasn't really something I focused on at all. And so, if I did say 5 rounds of stand up, mitts, I would be kind of tired. Sure. And then as I progressed in boxing camp, it was like I just felt like I could just do round after round after round after round, and I could just keep going. I didn't feel like, oh my gosh, I'm getting tired, I have to be done soon. There are a couple of days where I would do 10 and 12 rounds on the mitts, and it just felt like I could just keep punching forever. Sure. So that was
the one thing you said to me, Ben, which I remember this very vividly. You said that I don't think he's a great boxer, so I think I have a shot. But if he's a great boxer, I probably won't win. Do you think he's a great boxer, or do you think he just got lucky with a good shot, or what do you think happened in there?
Well, I think you can't tell.
Too fast.
Me, who's a low level boxer, does well. No, it just doesn't tell you much about where you're at. You have to face other good people.
Yeah.
So, at some point, I'm assuming, who knows, maybe he doesn't, but at some point he'll probably take a step up
to an actual trained boxer at some point. Yeah, yeah. Do you
Yes.
think were his hands fast? I mean, it was only a minute or so, but did you feel like he was faster than you thought?
No, not really. But then again, he hit me, so maybe.
Maybe he was, right? That's funny. All right, let's move on. Well, actually, let me ask you one more thing about that. We know what your purse was in terms of the guarantees that was out there. Have they shared? Because I haven't looked. Have they shared like what the other back end is with anybody? Because I think he came out and said what he made. Did you hear what he said recently? It was like 70 million or something like that. Is that true?
I got to assume he's. I mean, no. The total. We're talking. I think he said the total sales.
Was it total for
the
pay-per-view? Okay. Okay. So yes, I conflated the two there. Okay.
Yeah.
And they haven't shared what? Did you get revenues, both of you guys, on the back end for that, like pay-per-views? How does that work?
No, but I had other revenue. Okay. So, but I did not get to share the pay-per-view.
All right. Let's move into you. Enough of that shit.
Yes.
All right.
Yeah, I agree.
Exactly. You're a little. By the way, your internet, something's going on. You're like blurry on my end.
Really?
Yeah, I don't know why your face is all blurry.
I podcast. I podcasted this morning. I podcast every day.
No.
I don't really have any issues.
All right. Well, we'll keep going. It's all right.
Yeah, I'm hardlined in.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. All right. Tell us where you grew up. Let's talk about your parents and stuff. Where you came from.
Yeah. Let's see. Well, I was actually born in Iowa. We moved to Wisconsin, and when I was 5 years old, and that was where I spent the rest of my time of my youth. When I was 18, I went to University of Missouri. Was there for 7 years, 5 years wrestling, 2 years coaching. I went to Arizona State for a year and a half coaching, and then that was the point where I said I need to really, this is, again, we go back to the Freddie Roach thing. I really need to focus on MMA. Yeah. I actually won the Bellator title, and I wasn't really focused on MMA. I was doing it kind of like half-time and coaching college wrestling because that was something that really interested me and something I wanted to do. But it was like, okay, hey, I should probably focus on this thing. And so I moved back to Milwaukee, which is, where I grew up. And that was Rufus Sport is here, and they're really, really good, high-level stuff. So I started training with them. And then we also opened the Aspen Wrestling Academy roughly at the same period of time. And now we've grown to where we have 5 AWAs.
So your dad got you into wrestling when you were younger? I read that in Wikipedia profile for you?
Yeah. Okay. I mean, yes and no. So he wrestled when he was high school. Wasn't high level or anything. But it was just, I don't know. Like, I think we're probably a similar age. When I was a kid, you just played all the sports.
You did everything.
There wasn't opportunity. Yeah, he did everything. So I played everything, and wrestling was the one that really drew me in big time. I loved the individuality of it and the self reliance. Number one, I love the combativeness. Number two, and so by the time I kind of like quit everything, and by the time I was 14, I was
all in wrestling. Yeah, but I remember I told you,
which really didn't that didn't really exist at that time either, right? There was there was no year-round clubs.
Actually, you're a little bit younger than me. I think you're 36. Is that right? 36, 37?
I'm 36.
Yeah, so I'm 42, and I grew up in New Jersey, and I think I told you I'm friends with the Worthies, Mark and Maurice Worthy, right?
Yep.
Mm-hmm. And they had a club here. Yep. Damian Hahn's father, Miles Hahn, ran it. So it was a new thing though, and I guess that's
like the first club in the country.
Yeah, right.
Actually,
yeah.
Yes.
What was his club called? Do you remember the name of that club?
It was The Edge, correct?
No, it wasn't The Edge, actually. It was
Really? Edge was one of the first clubs.
Edge was, and then there's another one that Frankie's still a part of, Elite, I think it was, and then I can't remember what because Miles isn't around anymore.
Yeah, Elite Wrestling is Steve Rivera.
Yes, that's right. It'll come to me in a minute, but but the point is, like, out of those 2 or 3 clubs, like in the Jersey Shore, was one of the best wrestling in the country at the time because these guys were wrestling all year long, nonstop. But everybody does that now, right?
I don't know about everybody.
Well, it's across the country. I'm saying, right?
Correct. Yeah. Yep. It's way more popular than what it was.
I used to tell Maurice, I was like, you got to create the Worthy camp. But he went to the military because he went to West Point. So by the time he got out, I was like, there were so many of them. He's like, I kind of missed the boat on that.
Yeah. What's he doing now? Is he coach wrestling?
No, he's an entrepreneur now. So he's got a business.
Okay.
Yeah. He's in real estate and stuff. You had siblings growing up?
I have one brother, Max, who he runs the Aspen Wrestling Academy with me. He is in Mequon, which is 45 minutes to an hour away. He wrestled at Arrowhead High School, also like me, and then he also won a national title at the University of Missouri. So we both had pretty high level success.
Yeah, that's amazing. It's just like the Worthy brothers, the same thing. You guys are just. Would you wrestling? Yeah. Did you have a mat in your basement or something when you were kids, or?
We did, but he didn't really like to wrestle, when I was in high school. His passion for wrestling came later on, really kinda like 14,
Okay.
15. I was kind of already gone to
Yeah.
college, so, but then obviously we went to the same college together, and we got a lot closer then.
What was his weight class?
Max was a he's
Okay.
197 and he went down to 184 and he won a national title
And you
then.
were what, 74? 174?
I was
Yeah,
174,
yeah,
yep,
yeah.
mhm.
Okay, cool. So who were your heroes? Who were the people you looked up to as a kid? Athletes, stars, maybe parents? Like who were your docents that you were looking up to?
I mean, I just had I think I had really good people all along the way. The one guy I guess that really stands out from the era is my high school coach, John Messerich, and he works with us now.
That's
We
cool.
hired him away from high school
That's so
coaching,
cool.
and he's part of the Ashland Wrestling Academy, and so I see him on a really regular basis now.
Did you have any like trauma as a kid that made you have that grit and that grind, or is just what made you so motivated?
No, not
No.
really. If I had that answer, I'd have $1 billion. I have no idea. I mean, definitely no trauma.
Normal.
I
Yeah.
wasn't, like, rich or spoiled, just normal middle class
Yeah.
childhood. Um, yeah, I don't know. I was uber driven. Yeah, if I had the answer to what made me that
It wasn't your
motivated, I
dad
would have,
pushing you though, right? Like you just this is what you wanted.
no, he never
No,
pushed
so it
me.
was you.
Yeah, he never pushed me.
Yeah.
No, it was me. Yeah, it was me. But yeah, like I said, I don't know. I wanted to be great, and that was like I just trained every day, because at that point, like I said, there was no clubs. It wasn't like I had a coach kind of coaching me the entire
Yeah.
time. It was just like whatever I want to do, I want to do. I dictated, and I had to find. And as a past dictating, I had to find opportunities for myself because opportunities in wrestling didn't really exist all that much then.
Yeah. High school, you were two-time state champ. Was that junior, senior year?
Yeah, no, actually, sophomore, and junior, I got hurt my senior year, so I took second as a
Huh.
freshman. I came relatively close to winning a state title. I was pretty good at the state level at that age. Sophomore, and junior year, I won relatively easily. I was getting really good at that point. Senior year, I was really dominant, and then I suffered an injury towards the end of the season, so I didn't get to win.
And it says that you placed on the podium on multiple times in the U.S. national tournaments as well in high school. Is that right?
So the first time I placed at a national tournament was after my junior year of high school, and that was kind of what got me my college scholarship. And then my senior year, I ended up winning the national title. The big right at that point there was like kind of two big ones. Now there's more options, but at that point there was kind of two big ones, and I won the biggest one my senior year.
A lot of times when we talk to people on the show, it's like, are you driven by the success or the results? And I feel like with wrestling, it's like incremental results, right? Even when you were like Maurice, he was undefeated 2 years in a row, junior, senior year. His senior year was about the pin streak at that point. It wasn't even about just winning. It was like, I know I'm going to win. I got to pin all these guys.
Yeah.
Right? It's like, what were you one of those kind of guys? It's like you're always looking for some incremental way to challenge yourself.
Yeah, so yeah, I set the Wisconsin State takedown record 2 years in a
Nice.
row, my sophomore and junior year of high school. I think it's one of those things in wrestling that you get to compete so frequently, and lots of times at the high school level, the skill level between yourself, if you're really good, yourself and most of the people you're gonna wrestle, and like New Jersey might be different, right? Because it is a little bit higher level of wrestling. And they're probably seeing some Pennsylvania
Yeah.
kids and some New York kids and some other good kids. In Wisconsin, you're maybe going to get a handful of competitive matches a year, but you're not going to get,
Yeah, and if
20
you were going to be one of the
competitive matches a
best
year.
in the Northeast and you're living out there, you're just going to clean guys up, and then occasionally you get other guys like yourself. You're saying,
Yeah.
yeah,
So you need to find, reasons to, kind of goals to have to keep it kind of fun. At least that's how I think about it. Your goals to keep it fun or entertaining or challenging or, kind of all of those
it's like in
things.
track. It's like, what's my personal best? And you're basically competing against yourself, right?
Yes. Yep.
Yeah,
Exactly.
yeah, yeah. It says in college you placed second in the nationals freshman sophomore year, and then as a junior and a senior you won back-to-back national championships, 158-8 record, as I said earlier. But this is what I found really interesting. This guy Chris, he beat you 7 times in college. Who is this guy?
Yeah.
It's unbelievable.
Chris Brown.
Yeah, that's unbelievable.
Well, I lost 8 times in college. Seven more to him.
That's
I only had
unbelievable.
1 win over him. He's actually the head coach at Oregon State right now. Yeah, he kind of he had my number. He was obviously he won 2 national titles, so it's not
Right.
like
I mean, he was great.
he's
He was a great
not good.
wrestler.
He
Absolutely.
was
I'm kidding when I say
really
who was this
high
guy.
level, but
Just because I'm talking to you, you know.
No, he had a style that was
What was the reason that you couldn't get over that?
Tailor made to beat me. He had really clean attacks, stayed out of scrambles. Was also a good mat wrestler. So yeah, I mean, he was just kind of good all around, and just really man, sucks because I have to say if he didn't exist, I'd be the second greatest college wrestler of all time because I would have had one loss and
who next to who?
Titles.
Cale Sanderson or?
Yeah. Cale's obviously number one because he went 159-0.
Unbelievable.
But I believe I think I would have been like 160-1 had Chris Pendleton not existed.
Are you friends with him still, or do you keep in touch with that guy at all?
Yeah, I'd say friend. I mean, we're not like we don't text all the time, but we're friendly. Coaches at Oregon State. He just got the head job there a year ago. So yeah, that's cool. He's a nice guy.
This is kind of cool. 5-time world and Olympic champion Jordan Burroughs. You wrestled against him a couple years ago. That's kind of cool, right? Did you wrestle against him? Was that like I read that? I don't know if that's.
Yeah, it was a charity event. Yeah. No, so it was a charity event for something called Beat the Streets, which is a New York foundation that tries to provide wrestling for underprivileged people. Obviously, I was way out of my prime, and he is, he's one of the greatest of all time. So I knew I didn't really have a chance, but it was fun, like, right? Hey, let's go put on a show. Yeah, and we raised a whole bunch of money for charity, and got a lot of eyes on wrestling. So yeah, it was good. I mean, obviously, it would have been better if I would really be more competitive, but I kind of knew that.
He's a legend. I mean, but it's just cool to be able to get in there with him, I would guess, right?
He's a Jersey guy.
No, totally know that. Yeah, Maurice met him with his kids. Maurice went over and met him. Let's talk about the mindset. Nice. So let's start off. What is your superpower? What is the one thing that you're the best at?
I would say not giving a shit what other people think.
I love that. And what's your kryptonite?
Yeah. I don't really think I have one.
Everybody's got a weakness, man.
I don't know. I mean, I guess I'm impatient. That annoys a lot of people. Okay. And my wife says I can tend to be mean sometimes. But I don't think there's one thing where I'm like, I would really struggle with this. Because if there's something I feel like I would struggle with, I would work on that thing. If I thought it was negatively impacting my career or my business or something, I would work at that thing to try to not struggle at it anymore. So, I think I don't really feel like I have a clear, like, oh, this is something I'm terrible
at. Not, if you have a weakness, it's temporary because you're going to try to work on it and you're going to be obsessive about getting better at it.
Yes.
Speaking of obsessiveness, the greatest athletes, the greatest business people, the greatest in any field are obsessive, right? It's like an obsessive compulsive behavior to some extent, because they practice their craft over and over and over again. You know, Jordan and Kobe, obviously two of the best basketball players that we've seen in our day, and they were the first ones and the last ones in the gym, which you think everybody else should have been there with them, right? But the best are the reason why they're the best. Can you just explain to us the type of behavior that you had that was obsessive, possibly in your endeavors when you were trying to become the best?
Yeah. I mean, it's an interesting thing because, obviously, like, what made them that way? It's kind of what you asked earlier, right? If I had to answer that, it would be, I believe, to be $1 billion answer. No, I mean, so I was obsessive. I loved wrestling. I literally trained every single day. And like I said, at that point, it was looking for opportunities because it's not like they were really, really easily available for myself. So I wanted to be the best, really, really bad. And for, like a 10-year period, it was just like train. And that was all I did.
Yeah. Nerves, right? Speaking of Jordan has actually admitted, which is surprising to me, that he would get nervous before big games and he actually would get butterflies. He's publicly said that, which I find interesting because, I mean, everybody gets it, I guess, right? When you look at the best of the best, though, you think that they're so good that they must know they're so good. What are they nervous about? They're well prepared going in. But everybody just is nervous, I guess, about the unknown outcome that might happen. Did you get nerves too going into big matches, and how did you cope with that?
No, not. I mean, when I was younger, yes. As I got older, no, not really. Because I think once you make recognition of the fact that it's negative to you, right? Mm-hmm. It's negative to your competitive state, and you can't control the outcome, right? Whatever's going to happen is going to happen, and at that point, you're as prepared or not prepared as possible, right? There's no more preparation when you're getting ready to do it. I think the important thing, the only thing to think about that's important is how do you execute on whatever your skill is that you need to do. And this could be a business person giving a speech, an athlete competing in something, or whatever it is. So I think when you stay really focused on that, it kind of takes a lot of the nerves away. And that, that's what I try to do with all my athletes is get them thinking in that manner.
Yeah, because you shouldn't be nervous if you know you're well prepared, I guess, right? If you know you're well prepared,
but no, I think it's irrelevant. I think you just don't think about that.
Yeah.
I think you don't consider that emotion. I think you literally try to focus on, literally what do I need? Is it a
visualization,
wrestling
right?
match?
Going in.
How do I get to my single leg? What am I going to do if I get taken down? How am I going to try to escape? Like, think about those type of things.
Interesting. So that kind of leads into instincts and intuitions. With great athletes, great business people, instincts and intuitions, I feel like it's a big thing. I think it might be an experienced or learned kind of behavior, but some of it might just be what you're born with. What's your take on instincts and intuition? Do you think that was something that you just born with, or you just kind of developed?
Yeah, I think it's developed. So I don't think talent exists. That really rubs a lot of people the wrong way when I say that. But with any skill that takes multiple things, right? Now, like maybe with running a 100-yard dash or like being 7 feet tall, like those, I wouldn't say those are necessarily skills. Maybe a little bit, but not nuanced skills. And so, the one thing that I point to that everyone has a hard time arguing against when they say personality traits aren't learned. I say, well, actually I have a 3-year-old right now. So like 2 and 3-year-olds, like they think might is right. They don't like something. They want to go hit somebody or bite somebody or scratch them.
It's my little kid.
And I say, listen, but when they go to daycare, if that behavior continues, they're going to be kicked out of the daycare. And so by about 3 or 4 years old, every kid's aggressive streak has went from here to here because they've said this behavior is not acceptable. You need to change the way you behave. And so literally, and I honestly, I would say it's kind of negative. Like, I mean, I don't want to say you should go punch everyone, but specifically little boys, and I have 2 girls, and so I've seen the differences in them. Being a little aggressive is no big deal, right? Like, don't be a dick, but if you want to get rough once in a while, it's kind of funny. And so like aggressiveness is worked out of kids by a very young age. Yeah. So why can't other things be worked into kids? If that can be worked out, why can't other things be worked into kids? Why can't, toughness is that's probably the easiest one to point to that we know that can get better with people. There's that one, what's it called? The Wimp to Warrior program where they take people who are wimps and they get them to fight. Like toughness can be learned. And I think these other things can too, whether it's persistence, perseverance, all of these qualities, I think they can be worked on if you think about it the right way.
So to have extraordinary results, you have to put in extraordinary work, right? That's the word, extraordinary, right? Yeah. And we've talked about this a lot so far. But as a result of putting in that extra work or this obsessive behavior, I found for me in my personal life, it put a lot of stress on my personal relationships for people around me that didn't understand the goal. They didn't understand what I was doing. Did you have to deal with that at all through all the work that you had to put in and maybe neglecting some of the people around you, friends, family? Yeah.
I think that's one of those where I said, like, I don't really care about what anyone thinks. And especially when I was trying to be a great wrestler, like, I mean, like I had friends, and actually I only have a couple friends from high school, and they're still my friends to this day. But I wasn't really all that worried about other social endeavors. Like I didn't really want to go party all that much. I mean, I not that I never did, but it wasn't like top of my list like some people, or being in the cool group or that kind of stuff. Like it just wasn't on the top of my list of things to do because I was just literally focused on one thing, which is being as good as I could be at wrestling. And so, definitely. I mean, I think those people who are close to me and they're in the same worlds with me would say, like, I love Ben. He's really nice and generous and kind and all those things. And then people who are kind of outside my world might think, like, what the F's wrong with that guy? He's kind of a dick, And the biggest I probably wouldn't have never realized it, but my wife kind of points it out sometimes. And she's like, Ben, like, you can't do that. You got to, like, say hi to people. And I'm like, sorry, I was just thinking about, I was thinking about this thing, and I wasn't even, like, considering what was going on over there because I'm, I'm in my own world, and I'm, focused on a problem. And okay, next time, sorry, I didn't mean to offend that person at all. I was just literally, like, focused on this issue, and I didn't even think about going to say hi or how are you doing. stuff like that.
We had a company. My wife was a partner with me in the business. It was the last company I had. She was my partner in that business. And we would come in and she would walk into the office. She's like, hey, Joey. Hey, Larry. Hey, Mo. Because Maurice used to work there too. She'd say hi to everybody. How was your weekend?
Yeah.
I'd come in and go right to my desk, my laptop. She's like, you got to say hi to people and how was their weekend? I'm like, I genuinely don't give a shit how the weekend was. I just want to go to work, Like I just want to get the shit done that we're doing. I'm just trying to accomplish the goals, But I'm probably like you in that sense. I'm so laser focused on what I'm doing. I'm not worried about how people are feeling around me, and that was always a kind of a challenge. I feel like that's a lot of people that I consider to be docents are like that. So I was just curious.
Yeah, my wife tells this really funny story about how and I'm just not like, and I don't think about how other people are treating me also. So it's like I don't there's no recognition for me a lot of times. But there's this one funny story my wife tells. I don't think we were married yet, or we were really early married. And I did something or said something that really kind of like offended her. And she said, I made a point. It was like early in the morning. And she's like, I didn't talk to you all day. Cause I tried to make a point how mad
you didn't even know.
and yeah, we got to the bedroom at night and I was like, hey, what's up? And she's like, you didn't even notice that I didn't talk to you all day. I'm like, you didn't talk to me all day? I was like, what do you mean you didn't talk to me all day? She's like, I didn't talk to you all day. You did this at breakfast, you did this, and I was pissed.
That's so funny.
And I'm like, sorry, I didn't notice. I was focused on what I was doing. And so it's like she tells that story as a joke of how sometimes I have no recognition because I'm so into whatever it is that I'm doing that, I don't even realize. Like she said, I literally went the whole day. I did not talk to you and you didn't notice.
That's so funny. That's totally me. Half the time she tells me things and then like a week later, she's like, remember I told you we're doing this on that weekend? I was like, I know, but I believe you. I just don't remember. My head's always on something else, Frank Sinatra says, regrets, I've had a few, but too few to remember or mention. Do you have regrets? Any regrets? If you can go back in your career, things you would have done differently?
Not really. I mean, like the one thing that I wish would have happened that I had no control over was I wish I would have been able to go to the UFC earlier in my career. And I had no control over it. It wasn't my choice. It was Dana's decision or Dana's choice to not do a deal with me. And that would have been interesting for me to see how I would have done against those guys when I was a lot younger, because I didn't get to UFC till I was 35. And that at that time period when, I was in the negotiation period, I believe I was only 28, or 20 or 29. So, I was way younger, significantly more in my prime. It would have been very fun to have that.
Yeah, just to see how you would have performed, you're saying, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yep, exactly.
Cool. Do you recall when you became a millionaire? Do you remember when you hit the number? Like, how did you feel when that happened?
Was
it like a moment, or did you accumulate and it just kind of happened and it wasn't like a moment?
Well, it's funny. You know what about being a millionaire? No one's ever actually assumed I'm a millionaire. So
well, I did.
It's nice that you assume that. It's nice you assume that. Because it's funny because it's not like I mean, when you think about it, when you're a little kid, you think about it. There's a bank.
Let me just say one thing, guys. I know he's in crypto, which we're about to get to, so I know he has to be a millionaire. But go ahead.
Okay. So when you're a little kid, you think, oh, there's a millionaire. Oh, it means there's a bank account that says 1, and then there's 6 zeros, and there's a millionaire. And so the first time I think I kind of calculated my net wealth because it's like, well, I have this account that's worth X amount, and I started here. And then, for example, one of my houses we bought really cheap and my wife rehabbed. So it's like we had multiple hundreds of $1,000s of equity in that. And so I think the first time I was like, oh, wow, that's really cool. Like, I didn't really, I have this commercial building and I have interest in this company. And, it's like, you don't think about it. And then you're like, oh, okay, that's cool. And so actually the first thing I think is like, well, I don't actually feel like rich. Right. Like it doesn't feel like that. I got a lot of irons in the fire. And if a couple things went wrong, it feels like it could, not be all that great. And so I think that was I think
you and I share this because I have friends that like sold a company and it was like that's when they became one. It was like a moment in time. Like that's not what happened with me. I accumulated it over time, and then I remember doing the same thing as you. Like I had business here, I had that investments, bunch of cash, And at one point, I went to my wife and I was like, I think we're past that number, you know.
Yeah, I mean,
but you
yeah,
don't feel
exactly.
like you're rich, anyway, right? You're just like whatever. So I was just curious if you had like a windfall moment or if it was accumulation.
Yeah, accumulation. Yeah. I mean, because the other, you want to hear something really disturbing is that my base purse for the boxing fight that I just did was more money than all 9 fights I made in Bellator.
Wow.
You know, and so it's like in Bellator,
you got to do more of those fights.
I was underpaid. Like I was happy with what I was getting at the moment in time. I mean, my last fight, the biggest one was, I believe it was 44 and 44. So I would have made no, it wasn't. It was, I'm sorry. The last one was 32 and 32. Okay. So I made $64,000. I remember like being pretty happy with that. And I've had some sponsorship dollars also. Yeah. And now kind of when I look back, I'm like, oh my gosh, like I wasn't making a whole lot of money. Right. Yeah. So no, I mean, I think the third time I realized it was like, wow, I don't feel like
I gotta say, and MMA guys are not paid enough, man. There's too much of a monopoly going on with the way these organizations are run. I mean, you look at the purses, and I looked them up when I was looking up in research for you. I was like, holy shit, man, these guys are just way underpaid, man. It's crazy, and they're putting in more work than anybody. They're beating their heads in. I mean, it's like unbelievable.
Yes. Yeah. But the problem with that, the supply and demand issue with MMA is I don't know that it's ever going to be that much more well paid because, like we talk about this with other professional sports is if you're a professional football player, you probably played in high school, you probably played in college, you got drafted and you went to the pros and there's this like thing going on. And
they're building up the brands of these personal brands along the way.
But there's steps, right? In MMA, you just got to be willing to get punched in the head for a living, and you can be a pro. Right. And so it's like the base level UFC fighter, the lowest level, right? The entry contract is $10,000 to show up and $10,000 to win. And you're like, well, hey, even if I win 3 of those a year, that's $60,000. Once I pay my trainers, my manager, taxes, well, I'm poor. Right? That's probably what you're thinking.
Just get a job. You don't have to get hit in the head.
Right, but the problem with this is that there's thousands of men, specifically men, because the women's are not as deep, around America that if the UFC called them, would be so pumped and they will say, I would take that.
Yep.
So it's not like those guys making the bottom amount can say like, this isn't enough. I need more. Because listen, if you're making that much and you're bitching, they're gonna kick you out and find someone else because there's thousands of guys willing to take that spot. And I actually think mixed martial arts is one of the worst combinations because you can be famous and poor.
Yeah, no, so and there's a lot of rappers. There's a lot of rappers and musicians and stuff that are like that. They're really famous, but they're not making any money, right? Because of the way the deals are structured.
Yeah, the best is to be rich and anonymous.
Yeah, totally.
Is the best combination. Famous and poor is
that
the
sucks.
bad one.
Everybody assumes you're rich, and it's like, yeah. Speaking of famous, you said earlier, so you have a level of notoriety. How do you deal with that? I mean, that's something that you never really wanted, I'm sure, and you have to it's part of the game.
I would say it was a slower build for me, So it's like when I was wrestling, I was kind of like well known in my school district, and then when I went to Missouri and I was having success there, it was kind of like I was well known in that area, and and then obviously more recently it has kind of exploded. It's kind of like I am not overly social, kind of as I mentioned before. Yeah. So listen, as long as people come up and say, "Hey, what's up? Big fan, nice to meet you. Cool. Let's take a picture." That's great, right? But when they want to tell you their life story or something, it's like, "Oh man,
this is
like
awkward.
Trying to eat dinner with my family, or I'm going to this appointment, or something to something to that effect." That makes it difficult. But luckily, I have this 10 acres and I have no neighbors, so I'm just kind of like by myself.
I saw you get caught. I think it was in an airport. I was looking you up on YouTube, and some guy's like, "Hey, can I grab you?" And you go, 3 questions, bro. It's just like,
oh, that was after the fight, and I was trying to go eat some pizza and hang out with my friends, and the guy,
That's what we're just talking about, though. This is exactly what you have to deal with when you have a level of fame, I guess, right? Yeah. All right, listen, you got to hop soon, so I want to talk about Bitcoin. I know you're in Bitcoin. Can you just say when did you first get in Bitcoin? How did you first get introduced? What was your aha moment?
Yeah, my aha moment was immediately. My buddy, I went actually fighting in Shanghai. My buddy, college wrestling buddy, lived in Australia. He flew to meet me there, and he said, "I got to tell you about this Bitcoin thing." And immediately I was like, "Oh shit!"
What year is that, man?
Like that's the August of 2017.
Wow.
So before
pop,
I guess first big big run up. And he said, "Hey, here's," and immediately it took to me because it's like, oh wait, the politicians don't control it. I mean, that was the biggest thing for me. Oh, no one controls it. It's decentralized. Oh, this is great, and that was kind of like, aha for me.
And have you been able to orange pill like family and friends? Because I know this is always a challenge for people. Like once you get that, you want everybody else to experience what you now experience, and you want to help them, and then they're all skeptical. Have you had that issue?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, so I always try to. I mean, this we'll say conspiracies or kind of thinking outside the box. I've been doing that for quite a while, and so one of the things I think about is like you could take a horse to water, but you can't make a horse drink. Like, so you just got to wait till people are ready and kind of, people know I'm into Bitcoin, and when they want to know more about it, they'll ask me, and I don't try to force it on other people. Maybe if someone was like openly shitting on it, I would like tell them like, you don't really know what you're talking about, and I might, talk to them. But other than that, I would just wait till someone wants to talk about it, and then once they do, I'll give them a few spiel, and then I'll point them in the right direction, because I think everyone should do their own research. I think everyone should find it for themselves. Go read. Also I'll give them a few books that they should read. And
what's your
I have my book.
What's your number one book that you recommend for Bitcoin?
Bitcoin Standard.
And what would you say to another couple books for people to read?
Bitcoin Standard is great. Internet of Money is great. Thank God for Bitcoin is good. Hard Money You Can't Fuck With is a good one. Jason Williams. Yep. I mean, Bitcoin Billionaires is maybe not super informational, but it's a lot of fun to read. It's Ben Mesrick. He's really good. Yeah, those would be good. I mean, and so I guess if we talk about previous to me getting into Bitcoin, I was a Ron Paul guy, so I had read End the Fed a couple times, and I had thought / known about hard money and what good money is, and I mean, when you get into Bitcoin, you realize a lot of people, they have no idea of like what is money. You say what is money, they'll be like, well, the dollar, and it's like, well, no, money is anything that you and I can choose to exchange, which we both find has value, and some things are better at holding value than others. And that's kind of the way to think about it.
The thing I always see with people is that they see the price and they don't understand that it can be broken up and it's divisible. That's like the number one issue for the first person. Right. Yeah, because the price is so high now. They're like, I missed it. I can't afford it. They just don't understand. There's so many things. I don't want to go in the rabbit hole right now, but you're right. People need to do their own research, basically. What is your 10-year and your 20-year price assumption or prediction that you think on Bitcoin?
20 years. I haven't even thought that far down the road. It's going to be so much. I don't know.
We're going to be old as hell in 20 years.
Yeah, I don't know. It's going to go high. I mean, the guy I followed the most on Twitter would be at 100 trillion USD. Plan B. And I think he thinks it's I believe his top point is like 10 million per Bitcoin or something to that effect.
I hope he's right. That'd be insane. Philanthropy. Do you guys do anything philanthropic? Do you have like a foundation, or do you have charities that you support? Do you want to talk about?
Not really. One of the things my wife and I talk about the tithing thing a lot, and it's like, I try to just be charitable to people around me, and if I see someone who helps me out or wants an opportunity, doesn't get it, then I'll try to go help them get that opportunity and kind of tithe in that way more, as opposed to like just a big name charity that I don't get to see where it goes or anything like that.
Cool.
Yeah.
Well, Ben, I know you got to hop. You got to leave in like 2 minutes here. So I just want to thank you for your time. You're really generous. It's great to meet you through the whole fight and everything. Hope we can stay in touch. And just everybody, here it is, Ben Askren.
Awesome. Appreciate it, guys. You guys follow me. Just my name. It's at Ben Askren everywhere.
Cool, bro. All right. Thanks. I'll put it in the description below.
Right. Thanks,
Dan. Take care.
Cool. I appreciate that.